treasurer, but she does so many other things like Flycatcher Trail and keeping up with legislative things and a lot of other things for us too. So she is an essential part of this organization. And in her spare time, which I don't see how she has much, but she likes to do a little gardening herself at home for pollinators and birds. And we thought the timing this month would be really good since it's about time to get out and plant some things if they haven't been already. For her to give us a little information about using native plants in wildlife habitat in gardens and in her homes. So, Mary, take it away.
I may see if this thing's going to reach. Ooh, not quite. Yeah, but it did not fall. Rather noisy.
Mary, would you like me to forward those slides for you?
I think I've got it. Thank you for offering. Sorry for all the background noise here. All right. Back here. So, gardening for wildlife. Back in 2019, a study was released that said that since 1970, the population of North American birds had dropped by like 30%. So that is 3 billion less birds. National Audubon was one of the groups that participated in the study. They did actually use our Christmas bird count data as part of that study. So basically then, because of that, what we are encouraging everyone to do is to get rid of your turf grass here in your yard and go ahead and start planting native plants. And the native plants are what helps bring in your birds, your butterflies, and your bees. So this is a quote from Doug Talney. We had Doug Talney here back in August of 22, and he basically said that if half of the American lawns were replaced with native plants, we would create the equivalent of a 20 million acre national park, which would be 9 times bigger than Yellowstone. So if you add some native plants to your yard, what native plants do for your yard is that they will sustain the food web, they will help store carbon, they will support pollinators, and they will help manage the watersheds. So how they do that is, this is your turf grass here. Sorry. This is your turf grass here. And these are native plants here that are native to Oklahoma. As you can see, they have extensive root systems. So once native plants are established, they require less water. They don't require any fertilization. And then their deep root systems here help filter pollutants from stormwater runoff. So having native plants in your yard will keep the water from running off. Your grass here, I mean, it's a little bit better than concrete as far as water and runoff is concerned, but not much. So, from a wildlife standpoint, native plants are core to your wildlife garden. They have a symbiotic relationship with the native wildlife that they have developed over thousands of years, and native plants are what create the most productive and sustainable wildlife habitat. And this is a picture of a monarch on golden crownbeard. This is actually from Flycatcher Trail, which is an outdoor classroom that Tulsa Audubon does at Jenks High School. Basically, if something is not eating your plants, then your garden is not part of the ecosystem. And your plants, your native plants, are the first layer of the ecosystem. Insects, including caterpillars, eat the leaves, which form in the next layer. And then your birds will go ahead and eat the caterpillars and other bugs in the garden. And here you can see, here is a bluebird. Jay, this is your picture. This is a bluebird, pair of bluebirds with a grasshopper right there. So 97% of our North American birds need insects to raise their young. So this is just another little graphic that shows a little circle of life here. And also, basically, 1/3 of the food that you eat, comes from pollinators. So your chocolate and even some crops such as alfalfa are pollinated by insects. So Doug Talmy did a study a couple of years ago that says it takes anywhere from 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars to raise one brood of chickadees. So basically, if you build it, they will come, and that's what we did out at Flycatcher Trail. Flycatcher Trail is a joint venture between Jenks Public Schools. They actually owned the lot. It's a third of an acre, and it had an old house on it, which they tore down. So then by the time we got involved in it to help put in native plants, there were several oak trees here, and then your basic turf grass, and there was lots of sandburs in that turf grass. So that was not fun. What we did, how you want to begin by putting native plants in your own yard, is you want to determine what the goal of the area that you want to plant. Do you want just a butterfly garden? Do you want a monarch way station? Or do you want something more than that? You want to know what type of soil that you have in your yard. And you can even send it down to at the OSU extension. They charge you like $10 and they will analyze the type of soil that you have. You want to ID your existing plants and trees in your yard. And you can either do that using, there's several apps that you can use now. iNaturalist is an app that's free, and also Picture This is an app. And Picture This is there's both a free version and a paid version. And both of those work very well about IDing. You take a picture of it and it will tell you what you have. You also want to assess the plant health. Make sure that your trees are in good shape. That one of those trees, this tree here at Flycatcher Trail, we ended up having to take out. It was not well. We ended up taking it out. We did leave the stump to rot. So you want to go ahead and determine the sun and shade of the area that you're looking at. Want to plant. I would suggest that you also call 811 if you're in the Tulsa area, because you don't want to plant something and find you've got a cable running diagonally across your backyard, which is what happened with me. So I live on the corner lot, and it wasn't just my cable. It was cable for people all the way down the street, so I had to change my plan. So that's, you want to go ahead and call 811 and have them come mark your yard. Then I suggest you go ahead and design like your water features, any structures you want to have in your yard. And then you want to go ahead and start removing your existing invasives and your turf grass. And this is a picture of Flycatcher Trail here at the entrance. We've got some salvia there. And then this is like a shed that we had back there to hold supplies and stuff. So on Flycatcher Trail, we actually were able to receive we applied to National Audubon and received like a $25,000 grant. And since it is a third of an acre, we were able to get a professional plan done of what all we wanted to have out there. So most people don't need to do that for their yard. You just need to kind of to take some paper and pen and figure out what you want where. To remove invasives, Japanese honeysuckle is a plant that is invasive here in Oklahoma. I've got a friend of mine that she bought some land out in Mounds, Oklahoma, 15 acres, and she's got Japanese honeysuckle all over it. She will be forever fighting that plant. We also have Chinese privet here in Tulsa, and Siberian elm, and whatever that one is that I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah, so back there said it. Yes, that. So once again, if you have picture this, you can take a picture and it will tell you what it is. So, but you do want to go ahead and remove invasives before you start, and you will probably also go ahead and removing invasives throughout the years. We had a work day out Flycatcher Trail this past weekend, and we had some Siberian elm and some Chinese privet that we still had to take out.
Is there Russian olive here?
Huh?
Is there Russian olive here?
Is that on the list of invasives?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Is it here, Phil?
I don't know if it's in Tulsa or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I do not know.
You can go on the Oklahoma Invasive Plant Council website, and there's a list of all the invasives in Oklahoma, and you can look at that particular one, and it'll show you what part of the state it's in, how to control it, identification, all that kind of stuff.
So then to kill your turf grass, there are several different ways you can do it. All of them have their pros and cons. This is solarization. This is what I did in my yard, on my side yard several years ago. I started in August, thinking I could then plant in mid-September. Yeah, my plan did not work.
Depends how many years later.
All this, I put some logs and stuff on top of it, and it stayed there throughout the winter. So, and I'm on the corner lot, so I had to do some explaining to all my neighbors and also to people who drive by and everything else. So it was there from August through probably mid-April. And then it made it through all the winter. So like I said, since I do live on a corner lot, I was kind of afraid to put anything good on top of it. So I basically used old logs. I was afraid if I put bricks or something else, people might take them. But I did kill some of the soil microbes. This I did 6 or 7 years ago. So that's before I kind of knew a lot about soil health. Another way you can do it is you could go ahead and put newspaper or cardboard down and then put mulch over it. This is Flycatcher Trail, and we have done some of that out there. So these are some of the students that out at Flycatcher Trail. A lot of the high school students, they get their service hours if they come out and volunteer when we have work days. So these are some of the students that are helping out that day. What we also did out at Flycatcher Trail is that we sprayed it. We sprayed it with herbicide. We sprayed the grass. We had the whole 3rd acre. We went and sprayed it and let the grass die, and then we basically scalped it down, took a mow and mowed it as low as possible, and then we went ahead and did the plants directly into the soil. We did not do any tilling or anything like that. This is back in, I think, either fall 2013 or 14. We put the Purple Martin Tower at first, and this was our first planting, and then this was our second planting that year. So going back, this is what I kind of recommend nowadays, just because it seems to cause the least amount of trauma to your soil on a long-term basis.
How long does it take the turf to go away?
You know, I'm having to go back over 10 years. I don't quite remember if we left it for like 10 days or 2 weeks. Eileen, you weren't there then, were you?
Yes.
Were you there? Do you remember how?
I have sandburr scars.
Do you remember how long we left that before we? Because you want to let it. You want
It was
to.
about a month.
Was it a month?
It did pretty well, but of course the sandburrs really were the problem because they spread, and so little sprouts of sandburrs would keep coming up. So it was about 5 years, and we still have it down there and see.
Get some sandburrs, but we haven't had much problem.
Bermuda is pretty much gone.
Yeah, Bermuda pretty much died. So yeah, you want to, you don't want to have your grass real short when you spray it. You want to have it at a normal length so you could go ahead and take it down to the roots and then let it die. And then we mowed it, scraped it, scalped it, whatever you want to call it, down to as low as possible, and then we just went ahead and planted plants directly into the soil. So some basics of wildlife gardening. You want to choose native plants that are adapted to your growing conditions. You want to include keystone species to support insect populations. You want to plant for a succession of blooms from early spring to late fall. And you also want to plant a variety of shapes and sizes to provide interest in vertical structure. And if possible, you should include some sort of water feature. And this is from Judy's yard. She was on a garden tour several years ago. This is actually her front sidewalk up to her house, and she's got a little water feature there, and it's got some black-eyed Susan and some other plants there. So Tulsa is actually is right there where both the Ozark forest and then the Great Plains kind of join. So it's kind of a little bit of a unique location. Keystone plants, those are basically 14% of the plant species support 9% of the butterflies and moth species. So, and this is all based upon work done by the Talmy. So your keystone species are your oaks, your willows, your cherries, your sunflowers, your asters, and your goldenrods. And this is our little native sunflower patch that we have out Flycatcher Trail. So it's there every year, and it is used by the monarchs, it is used by other butterflies, the hummingbirds like it, and then during the winter, the bumblebees also like the sunflowers, and then during the winter, the goldfinches go after the seed heads. I've got a little video where the goldfinch is actually hanging upside down trying to get to the seed heads. So this is just another little graphic about keystone plants. They can host anywhere between 60 to 500 species of caterpillars. According to Doug Talmy, oaks support 557 species of caterpillars in the mid-Atlantic and over 900 species nationwide. This is a chickapin oak. This is actually Gittner Drummond's house that was on our garden tour several years ago. This oak tree was in his front yard. So this is a big oak tree. Oak trees are the single best plant that you can add to your yard if your yard is big enough to support one. And if you can support one, if you can do 2 to 3 where the roots kind of interlock with each other, they'll help better support the trees. That's even better. If you don't have room for a chickapin oak, bur oak is also a large oak tree, but shoe-marred oaks are a little bit smaller, and then pin oaks and post oaks are also oaks that are native to this area. And the reason why oaks are so good, especially like right now, this past weekend while we were out Flycatcher Trail, we had a little ruby-crowned kinglet in one of the oak trees, and he, then came down. He had like a little inchworm, and that's what all the warblers and other birds are after during spring migrations, are those little inchworms that are all over the oak trees. And then he came down closer and he beat the inchworm against the branch before he ate it. So we could see that without any binoculars. He was down close enough so the kids got to see that. We had half a dozen students out there. So anyway, so that's why oak trees are so good for your yard for birds, just because of the amount of caterpillars and moths that they support. Some online resources that you can use to figure out what plants you'd like to use for your yard. Wild Things Nursery, Missouri Wildflowers, and Prairie Moon Nursery all have good descriptions of the type of plants that they sell, whether it's like sun, shade, if it's good for butterflies, etc. National Audubon has a plant finder, and also so does National Wildlife Federation. They have online plant lists by zip code, so you can go out, and this is the website for Audubon. You could go out and you input your zip code and your email address, and then it'll come back with a whole list of plants that are native to your area, and it will also tell you which ones are good for which type of birds, and also then butterflies, and it'll tell you if it's a shrub, etc. And National Wildlife Federation has a very similar type of database. And Audubon's is based upon BONAP, which is basically, hey, these are plants that are native to your Pacific region. So Kerr Center is down Noble County. They have an online guide for native pollinators for Oklahoma, and also native milkweeds online that you can download. Grow Native is out in Missouri. They have a very good website. And then Homegrown National Park is the website by Doug Talmy that also has a lot of good information about native plants. So, plant species identification, a lot of places will have both the Latin name and the common name. I suggest you go by the Latin name. I cannot pronounce a lot of those Latin names, such is why I'm using common names. But this is helpful to make sure you're getting the right plant. And if you see like a plant tag or something else that has some quotes on it, that means that it is a cultivar, and you really don't want to buy that plant because that plant has been modified in some way for like leaf color or plant color, and we don't really know at this point in time what has happened to both the pollen and nectar quantities in that plant. You don't want to spray pesticides in your yard or garden. No neonics. Neonics is a systemic insecticide that spreads throughout the plant, including the nectar and the pollen. It has been shown to be harmful to bees, butterflies, and birds. And the neonic can sometimes be an issue on the big box places because the big box nursery, they don't know the history of the plant. They just know that it arrives there. They don't know how that plant was raised. So if you see a plant tag that says that the plant will last for a year, it's guaranteed for a year, that's a pretty good indication it's been treated with neonics. So if you see a plant tag with that on it, I would not buy that plant. Don't use poison to kill rodents, just because whatever killed the rodent will also kill whatever eats it. If something eats that dead rat, either a cat or a dog or a hawk or an owl, are also likely going to die. Natives are preferred over cultivars, like I said earlier. And then don't kill your spiders. A lot of people don't like spiders, but spiders are part of a balanced ecosystem. So here, this is a picture from Doug Talmy. You can see this is a yellow warbler. It's got both a caterpillar and also, I think that looks like some sort of crab spider there in its beak. So hummingbirds. Oh, this is a picture out of my yard. This is like some sort of jumping spider, I'm assuming. He's got a little pollinator there. So he was backing away from me as I was trying to get his picture. So this is with my iPhone. It's zoomed in, not the best of quality, but hummingbirds also use spider webs in the construction of their nests. Paul, do you recognize this picture? This is your picture.
Oh, yeah.
So this is actually from Minty's Grove, which is the school, Jenks school there at 91st and Harvard. So this is over, they have a little creek that runs through alongside the school, and this is on a branch over a creek. You can clearly see the little spider webs here. And I've also seen hummingbirds go up to a spider's web, and it was full of gnats, dead gnats, and that hummingbird just used its tongue and got itself a quick little easy meal by extracting all those dead gnats. So leave your spiders alone if at all possible. The do's, you want to be intentional in your front yard, especially if you live in a neighborhood that's got an HOA. You can go wild in your backyard. In your front yard, add edging or border to the flower beds. Make sure your plants don't block the view if you live on the corner, i.e. you don't want them to be too tall to see around. The city of Tulsa does have an ordinance on that, and they will write you up on that and make you take those plants down. So communicate, educate your neighbors on the benefits of native plants. Include signage in your yard that lets everyone know, your neighbor know the why. And so this is actually from a yard that was on the garden tour several years ago. You've got your Audubon plants for birds, you've got your national wildlife habitat, and also your monarch way station. So these are probably the three best known signs. These are metal. They do cost money, $25 to $35, but to me they're well worth it. And she had them all along. She had like a front little fence that ran along the front side of her yard, and so she had all these signs on her garden to let people know. And then also, if you can help advocate for native plant ordinances and participate in local HOAs as necessary. So this is another picture from Flycatcher Trail. As you can see, we've got a border made of stones here, and we've got those throughout the garden. So Black-Eyed Susan, going blank. Can't remember what that is right there. Soy primrose there. So, and this is part of our water feature over here. We also have signage at Flycatcher Trail. We have 2 on the front by the street where you can see it as you drive by. We also have several more on the shed there as you enter. And then also we have a couple in the garden. So this is our monarch way station. We very conveniently have a male monarch posted right here in some swamp milkweed. So appreciate that. That made it for a good picture. And since the Flycatcher Trail is a public place, we also have some plant signs here that explain the purpose of the plant. And then we also even have, what did I do here? We also even have some QR codes in different sections of the garden that kind of explain the purpose of each section of the garden. So in my own yard, I also even have some plant labels, just because after 7 years, you don't always remember what you've planted, and when it's only about 2 inches high, you can't remember what it is, you can't tell what it is, so I even have plant labels. And also, this is also my side yard, so people walking by, if I'm not there, they can walk up and see what I have in my yard. That one did not work. It wore off after less than a year. If you don't have very many native plants in your yard, I recommend leaving the dandelions and the henbit this time of year, just because they do provide some pollen nectar. They're not the best source, but you don't want your yard to look too bad either. So you do need to mow it. If you have some dead wood in your backyard and snags, if it's safe to do so, these dead wood and snags will provide homes for overwintering insects and also birds and bees. Mow every other week. Leave the leaves be. Leave your seed heads, and hopefully leave all your plants alone until spring, just because of the number of insects that overwinter in your yard in either the leaf litter or the seed heads. So this is just a little bit of a graphic that shows all the different insects that can use and other animals that use dead wood in your yard. This is a dead snag that Todd Humphrey had the tree taken out, but he left as much of a snag in his yard, in his backyard, for the woodpeckers and other insects to use. So this is a piece of dead wood out at Oxley Nature Center where they have lots of it, and this is some sort of garter snake and skink here that are out there. It was kind of cold that morning. They were out there trying to sun themselves, trying to warm themselves up. Trees for your yard, your native oaks like your shumard. Mexican plum is an early blooming tree that's blooming, starting to bloom right now. Your wild black cherry, your common persimmon, your eastern redbud, your black willow, your pecan, and American elm. Your eastern redbud is also one that blooms early and helps out the early. Yes, thank you. So, Shumard oak, I already went over that. So here's a picture of, this is a picture here of, this is a Shumard oak, this is your persimmon, this is your black willow, and this is a pecan tree over here. So all those are helpful for birds, provide either food or nuts. So of course trees also provide nesting sites for birds, and this is a nest of scissortails. So this may be a Bradford pear. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I took this picture several years ago. It's actually from a tree that was in the Target parking lot, and there was a whole nest of scissortails in it. So vines for your yards. Coral honeysuckle is a good one to have here in Oklahoma. It blooms. It's already blooming now, and it will bloom clear through September or October. So it typically blooms for 9 months of the year. Cross vine, Dutchman's pipe vine, passion flower, honey vine, which is a host plant for monarch butterflies, American wisteria, trumpet vine, and native bittersweet. So both the trumpet vine and the native bittersweet can be somewhat aggressive. For native plants, you always use the term aggressive. You don't use invasive. Thank you. So this is what we did out at Flycatcher Trail. We put 5 different trellises up, and this is once again back in 2013. They've held up well. We put them up because they add some vertical structure to the location. Plus, then they also act as a kind of block the view here of the house that's next door. And so this is what we have done. This is coral honeysuckle. So you can see it kind of, you don't see the house so much behind it. And this coral honeysuckle, once again, it's already blooming, so it's helping out with the bees that are already out, and also when the hummingbirds return, the hummingbirds really like this plant. And this is another coral honeysuckle. This is from Todd Humphrey's house. His house was on the garden tour several years ago. He put this up by using prepackaged green fencing from Lowe's. He used screws with anchors into the mortar and hung the fencing on the screws. This is actually on the west side of his house. And catbirds have actually nested in his coral honeysuckle, even though he does also have a birdhouse here. This is honey vine. So this is what we've got growing on several different trellises out at Flycatcher Trail. As you can see, there's also, it's kind of hard to see, but there's little blooms, there's little skippers all over the honey vine. So not only is it a host plant used by the monarchs in late summer and early fall, but these blooms attract lots of other different pollinators, both small and large, like your little sweat bees, all sorts of things will use the blooms on this. Milkweed bugs, everything.
Does that come back every year right there?
Since it's grown there for so long, some of it does grow up, and we basically train it to grow over the top, but we also will go ahead, we've got honey vine that grows throughout. We'll go ahead and, when the honey vine's, about yay tall, go ahead and transplant it over to the trellis, so it'll grow up the trellis. Because it will smother, if you have a butterfly bush or something else, it will smother some things you don't want it to smother. So we try to go ahead and leave it here, and then we will pull it up in other spots where we don't want it. Another way to keep a plant from spreading is that we went ahead and did this is another small trellis, and we've got a box down at the bottom, and this is your native wisteria that we planted into it, planted in the box, and is now growing up and over the trellis. And we've also had robins nest in our wisteria here, our native wisteria. Excuse me. Berry plants for birds, and most, like I said before, a lot of birds eat insects during the summer. During the winter months when there's not so many insects around, they will eat the berries off your beautyberry, your serviceberry, your blackberry, American holly, fragrant sumac, your hackberry, and golden currant, and your pokeweeds. So pokeweed, you don't really have to plant, the birds will bring those in. So we try to leave those as they come up there, Flycatcher Trail, as long as they're not, next to something we don't want to grow and smother. But yes, this is American beautyberry here. This is a catbird that was getting ready to eat those berries, and this is actually kind of late fall, so before the catbirds have migrated. So our American holly that we have out there at Flycatcher Trail right now is being stripped by the cedar waxwings. Have been there now for over a week and been eating the berries off the American holly. Not very many of them left. So this is hackberry here, fragrant sumac there, coralberry here, and then this is your American holly over here on the bottom right. And this is a scarlet tanager that once again has some sort of, I don't know if that's I'm not sure what type of berry that is here. And this is a scarlet tanager. So this is once again, it's actually eaten it in late summer here. And Jay, I think that picture is also from you. Excuse me. So early spring blooming plants that you want to have, those are what hopefully are starting to bloom right now. Your eastern redbud, your rough-leaf dogwood, your Mexican plum, all three of these are pretty much blooming right now as we speak. Your serviceberry, your Carolina rose, your showy primrose, violets, wild columbine, and woodland phlox are all plants that are good to have in your yard because once again you want that whole succession of blooms. So right now, any butterflies that are out and any bumblebees that come out here pretty quick, they'll be able to use the pollen, the nectar from these plants. And this is a rough-leaf dogwood that's over at Flycatcher Trail. And then we've got an oak tree behind it. I think that's Virginia creeper that's crawling up the side of the tree there. This, of course, is the eastern redbud. This is state tree of Oklahoma. And I've got a serviceberry over here, and this is Mexican plum. This is Carolina rose on the right that we have out Flycatcher Trail. And then this is wild columbine that's actually a shade plant, and you can see it's planted underneath this tree here. And this is the type of plants you want underneath the tree. You want to leave your leaf litter, you want to have plants underneath there. And this is because a lot of those moths and butterfly species that they will drop down, the cocoons or your chrysalis will drop down into the ground and they'll overwinter into the leaf litter or underneath these plants. So you want to have something else underneath your trees if at all possible instead of turf grass. You don't want to have turf grass that you mow because then you are mowing up all of your pollinators that are overwintering and other insects that are overwintering in this leaf litter. So this is technically called like your soft landings. It's what they refer that to as having plants and leaf litter in the trees. If you want a butterfly garden in your yard, you need an area that's got at least 6 hours of sunlight, direct sunlight. You want to plant a variety of host plants, including milkweed. You want a variety of nectar plants with a succession of blooms. If possible, if you have room, you want to plant in 3s or 5s. And you want a little bit of spot for water or something, muddy or something where the butterflies can puddle. And then hopefully also maybe a windbreak to help provide some shelter. And this is a painted lady here on purple coneflower. Common butterfly host plants, and I have the list back there in the back for people that has the even more extensive list of host plants for all the butterfly species that you can find here in Tulsa. And various native milkweeds for your monarchs, your pipevine for its Dutchman's pipevine for your pipevine swallowtail, your rue for black and giant swallowtails, your fennel, dill, and parsley for your black swallowtails. Black swallowtail is actually the state butterfly of Oklahoma. Passion vines for your Gulf fritillaries and your variegated fritillaries, and woolly progenies for your goatweed leafwing. And this is a giant caterpillar on a plant of rue. And once again, this is another picture of a more honey vine on different trails that we have at Flycatcher Trail. Once again, it's a host plant that's used in late summer and early fall for monarchs before they migrate. So this is a monarch butterfly on some common milkweed. Common milkweed's good to have in your yard if you have a way to contain it and mow around it to keep it from spreading. It does spread by rhinestones, so you do want to make sure you have it in an area. Maybe not, but most people want to have it in an area where they can contain it. Huh. Well, this is supposed to be a video, but it's not showing up before I can run it. Let's see. There you go. This is out of Flycatcher Trail. This is swamp milkweed, and you can tell it's quite lending, and it's still going ahead and just munching away. So, even though it's rather windy. There we go. All right, try that again. Once again, here is a male monarch on the swamp milkweed that we have out of Flycatcher Trail. And not only do the monarchs use the milkweed, but also use your milkweed bugs and a variety of other pollinators, plus then even blackbirds, red-winged blackbirds will use the leaves and stuff as fiber in their nests. So a lot of people in Oklahoma like to go ahead and plant tropical milkweed. If you do plant it, it is a host plant for the monarch butterflies. As you can see, there's several different monarchs on this. You want to chop it down before the monarchs migrate through. Monarchs have been shown that they will stop their migration, stop to lay eggs, and we don't want them to stop their migration. We want them to go ahead and continue on to Mexico. So if you do have tropical milkweed, please make sure you take it, chop it back down to the ground by like mid-September. And this is Slender Mountain. This is Slender Mountain Mint behind it, and this is also another good plant for pollinators. And this is a pipevine swallowtail on Chook's cap. And these are black swallowtail caterpillars. This is on green fennel, and you can see this guy's been furred backwards as he's eating the fennel there. This one is eating it all the way down to the stem. They will go ahead and they'll eat everything on the plant. They will take this plant almost down to the ground. I have had it taken down to the ground in my yard when I had 15 to 20 of them on it. If you knock them lightly on the head, they will, the osteneron, I don't know how to pronounce that word, this will pop out, that's what those are. And they're using it as a defense against other insects, trying to keep themselves from being eaten. And this is where you get the licorice smell. So the swallowtails smell like licorice. This is a goatweed leaf-wing butterfly. So this is woolly crumb, and as you can see on this particular leaf, the caterpillars they'll eat the leaves, but they also like to make themselves into, they'll make it into a little burrito and then hide within the leaf. And this particular one, the caterpillar chose a leaf where there's also a chrysalis of the adult butterfly, and this is where he has just emerged, and he's emerged from the chrysalis, and then they have to dry themselves out because they've been crammed in this little chrysalis, and then they have to pump fluid throughout the wings, and then they have to hang there for 3 or 4 hours to dry. And then this is what they look like once they have dried the wings out. And this is passion flower. So this is some sort of, I have tried to run my bumblebees. I have failed. That's why I'm naturalist. I can take it and upload it, and it will tell me whether or not I've got the common eastern bumblebee or the American bumblebee. American bumblebees, we've actually had a nest of those out at Flycatcher Trail. Eileen's the only one that's ever been stung before, so she stomped on the nest, so that was kind of her own fault, but we didn't realize. we didn't realize what that was until after she.
We know now.
Yeah, we know now. So anyway, so they pretty much leave you alone, and the females are the only one that have the stingers. The males do not, but they don't like you stomping on top of their nest. And the nest, it was near the mulch pile, so that we had out Flycatcher Trail. So this is the passion flower. So this is the trellis that we had with the passion. Not a very good picture, sorry. And then this is what turned out to be our oriental bittersweet. We had to take that out last fall. We thought we had the native bittersweet, and it turns out we had the oriental bittersweet. So we took it out last fall, and we'll probably leave that trellis alone because it did kind of sprout back up in several places we found this past weekend. So summer flowers for your yard: purple coneflower, Black-eyed Susan, bee balm, mountain mint, partridge pea, native sunflowers, butterfly weed, swamp milkweed, and rattlesnake master. Rattlesnake master is just kind of an unusual looking plant, so it has some vertical structure. This is partridge pea over the right, where you can see both the honeybee and the bumblebee competing for the pollen there. So this is a silver-spotted skipper that's on a coneflower. You can see where he's actually got his proboscis extended down in there into the plant to get the nectar. These are black-eyed Susans. These are butterfly weeds. There, another host plant for the monarch butterfly. And then this is a gopher hole. So anyone who's done some native plants, we used to have rue out Flycatcher Trail. The rue was like 4 to 5 feet tall. We had several different plants that were that size. And we had 36 milkweed. And within about a 2-week time frame, the gophers came through and ate them all. Ate them all. And there was even a couple times where you could just see the plant shake and all of a sudden it just disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is very, very maddening when you see that happen. It's all of a sudden, boom, boom, and it just disappears. So we do now do some gopher control out at Flycatcher Trail. So just because it's
What do you do? Is it successful?
It is successful. I've got the sonic, the things that you can put in the ground that emit the sound. I've got those. But plus, we also have the traps. So and the guy today was actually out there today. He had both a gopher and a mole on one trap. So just because I don't, it's just too hard. I mean, we've spent a lot of money and time out there, so when they come out and destroy it, it's a little frustrating. Karen?
We had a lot of success over in Lenatus Butterfly Garden by getting those little dollar metal trash cans at dollar store.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
planting those.
Yeah, we've done
Yeah,
that.
we've done that too.
We've done that too, so that's also helped. So that allows the plant to grow and it keeps the gophers away. So the moles go after the bugs, your insects, and the gophers are going after the plants. So this is just, if you plant the native plants, this is a 4-banded stink bug wasp. So it is an unusual looking bug, and I think that is a bee balm before it starts blooming. I don't remember what plant that was, but this was a neat looking bug that showed up out Flycatcher Trail. Once again, iNaturalist is what identified this. So, well, all right. This is a bumblebee on some bee balm out there at Flycatcher Trail. Oh, there's a Carolina in the background. You can see where that bumblebee has gone. He's worked its way all the way around that bee balm. So, and then flies off. This is another bumblebee on swamp milkweed. Like I said, monarchs are not the only insects that use swamp milkweed. So, I do not once again know what species of bumblebee that is. This is a very crappy picture of rattlesnake master. I need to get a better one in there. Once again, you can see there's a bumblebee on it, and there were some other insects on the other side of it. This is partridge pea, and this is what's called buzz pollination that the bumblebee's doing on it. He goes through and vibrates it to get the pollen out. It does not produce nectar. The nectar is not within the plant itself. It's on those little nectarines or whatever they call those on the. But they're after the pollen. So nectar plants for the bushes that provide nectar for your yard is buttonbush, Carolina rose, coralberry, spicebush, false indigo, and Turk's cap. Turk's cap is good because it provides a lot of nectar for your migrating hummingbirds. So this is false indigo. This is what we have out Flycatcher Trail. You can see we've got our purple martin houses behind it, but this is the false indigo bush, and it is also the host plant for the clouded sulfur and silver-spotted skipper. And then we also have found Io moss on it before, so do not touch them. So you do not want to touch. We left it alone. We don't want to touch it because those will sting you. So. Like I said, Turk's cap is an excellent plant for hummingbirds. You can see he's got pollen on his head there, and then This is good because it blooms in late August and early September as the hummingbirds are migrating through. So this way, if you have Turk's caps or coral honeysuckle, you don't have to worry about making sure you've got hummingbird feeders out, because they're getting their nectar to fuel the migration from your native plants. And if you've got a hummingbird feeder out in August, you've got to make sure you keep it clean because you're changing the nectar every 2 to 3 days because of the heat. Whereas if you've got your Turk's cap here, you don't have to worry about that. And your Turk's cap can get, a lot of native plants, they say they sleep, they creep, and then they leap. And the Turk's cap, the first couple of years I had it, I also had some annuals I had planted around it because it is now 5 to 6 feet across. So it gets quite wide, and every spring I need to go out and whack it back. I whack it back to the ground every spring. And I need to go out and do that in my own yard. I have not done that yet. So when you've got your native plants, you're also going to get other critters out there, such as your tree frogs. We have several different species of frogs out of Flycatcher Trail. Last summer we had one of our trash cans we basically had to give up using because the tree frogs, we had 3 to 4 tree frogs that like to spend their afternoon in the trash can. We basically had to leave the trash can with the lid cracked open so they could get in or out. So usually when they're on the side of the shed, they're more of this color versus this guy. So I think it just probably landed on the side of the shed before he changed color. So your fall blooming plants, once again, your fall blooming plants, that succession of plants, you want to go ahead and make sure you have plants in the fall just because of your bumblebees, your migrating hummingbirds, and also your migrating monarchs. So asters and goldenrods are 2 of your keystone species. Cowpen daisy is actually a type of aster. Your Turk's cap, woolly croton, coral honeysuckle again for your hummingbirds. Your frostweeds, your sunflowers for both the bumblebees and your monarchs. Your salvia and your blue mist flower. Oh, and this was a border patch butterfly here on your cowpen daisy. So this is goldenrod. Goldenrod blooms in the fall, does not cause your fall allergies. Ragweed is what causes your fall allergies. And you can see there are some insects here, some various wasps and stuff on this goldenrod. We have a lot of cowpen daisy or golden crownbird here at Flycatcher Trail. Once again, the students, when they come out, when we have work days out Flycatcher Trails, and Jenks High School students, they get service hours if they come out and help. And so they took a quick break and were taking the pictures. We have a butterfly bench here, and they were sitting on that getting the pictures taken. This is from last fall. So this is from September 30th of 2022. That year is when we had the drought in here in Tulsa. And so this, we had over 100 monarchs. Here you can kind of see them all, see all those little dark spots, those are all monarchs. You can kind of see them all putting up. So unfortunately the kids were out of school that day. That was like fair day. There's more. So, but the teachers are there. So I had texted Todd, who was the teacher at the time there. It's kind of our communication with the G school. So the teachers, he made an announcement over the intercom. So all the teachers got to come out and see all the monarchs. But that was the year that the monarchs basically migrated through like Flycatcher Trail, anywhere the stuff had been watered. So like the gathering place, all the places, they did not go through the rural areas just because it was so dry. This is some more goldenrod. Those are goldenrod soldier beetles that are all over that goldenrod. Here, the next one is, this is an aster. And as you can see, there's, it's got tons of little skippers all over this aster. It's got some pearl crescents, and even got a monarch down here at the bottom. So once again, this is why you want to have asters bloom in your garden in the fall, just because of all the butterflies and other insects that they attract. And this is, once again, this is your cowpen daisy. So as you can see, there's a insect on each bloom here. So bumblebee, your goldenrod, soldier beetle, and I don't know what that one is. Late bloom plants are important to queen bumblebees just because on bumblebees, the queen is the only one that overwinters. All the rest die off before the fall or before the winter. And she's basically out there during the fall trying to get enough pollen and nectar to make it through the winter. So they overwinter, like I said, either in like some fallen wood or in the ground. And then they will come out in the spring and start their life cycle all over again. So this is the monarchs this past year. Unfortunately, this past winter, the monarch population really dropped. When they did their surveys, they were down to like 0.9 hectares, which is the worst in 15 years or so, Marcy?
It's the second lowest since they've been keeping records.
Yeah. So we are encouraging everyone to make sure they get some milkweed planted in their yards this summer, this spring, and also to have nectar plants in the fall. So this is actually what a monarch looks like right before it emerges from the chrysalis. You can actually see the wing there of the monarch, and just like those other butterflies, once they emerge from the chrysalis, they have to pump up their wings, and then they have to hang there, and they'll spend 3 or 4 hours drying out before they fly off. So ground covers for your yard. You can also use buffalo grass instead of turf grass, and it will grow longer and it requires less water. It does take some time to get established. This is Ray Luke's house. He was on our garden tour several years ago. This is Ray's got some buffalo grass. Frog fruit's another cover that you can use, a ground cover, and you can mow it, you can walk on it. I've got on part of my yard on the west side. Julia's got in her yard also, and also it doubles as a host plant for both the common buckeye and the Phaon crescent butterflies, and I've had both of those species in my yard. The frog fruit's been used by both of those species in my yard. You get your native plants. There's here in Tulsa we have lots of local plant sales in both the spring and the fall. We've got our garden tour in May. Across the prairie, Oklahoma Native Plants and Duck Creek Farms are 2 local nurseries that Duck Creek Farms, both of them are usually at the local plant sales on weekends, and then Duck Creek Farms in the past has also been down at the Tulsa Farmers Markets. The Tulsa County Library, if you've got a library card, they have some seeds of the more common, like your purple coneflower and also some of the various milkweeds. Johnson Seed Company's out in Enid. You can go ahead and buy wildflower mix, and they develop different seed mixes by region, and they will ship to you. Online, both Missouri Wildflowers and Prairie Moon Nursery, they will both ship plants to your home. And then I'd be careful of using big box locations just due to the neonic issue, and also sometimes there are plant swaps, native plants. People will swap plants among themselves if you ask nicely. So our garden tour is coming up on the 18th and 19th from 9 to 5 on Saturday, noon to 5. And these are the list of the native plant vendors that will be there. So you're welcome to come buy your ticket and then come buy your plants. And you can also then tour the gardens and see what other people have done in their yards to help promote the birds, bees, and butterflies. This was a house that was on the garden tour last year. So she did the Monarch Way Station, and plus we have our signs that will show you how to get to the house. And there's also various Facebook groups that you can just Google. I mean, Google and you can find all sorts of resources, but these are some Facebook groups. I don't really do Instagram or TikTok or any of that type of stuff, but Homegrown National Park is done by Dr. Doug Talmy, of course us, Oklahoma Native Plant Society. There's a Native Seed Exchange of Oklahoma, Oklahoma Friends of Monarchs, Butterflies and Moths of Oklahoma to Kansas to Texas, so you can post your pictures there and they will help you identify what you have also. And then Okies for Monarchs. And this is a blue dasher that I took that picture in my yard. It's actually on a black-eyed Susan there. So now that you've got all the native plants, it's also helpful if you have some sort of water source in your yard. It could be as simple as this bird bath. This is a guy whose yard was on a tree a couple years ago. He has a simple bird bath here. If you add a bird bath, you need to keep your water clean. And also during the winter it needs to be liquid, so if you could add some type of bird heater. I've actually even used a heated dog water dish in my yard. And this past winter when we had that kind of quick cold spell, my bluebirds came to the heated dog dish that was full of water before they went for the mealworms. So so during the winter you almost need to make sure you have water, liquid water available during the cold spells during the winter for the birds. So moving is also helpful. And this is this is Todd's house. So you've got the nice little sound. Plus then he's got purple coneflowers there and salvia along the side of it. And then he gets lots of birds in his yard that are using this catbirds, the robins, all sorts of birds use that in his yard. This catbird, that's a picture from his yard. And then we also have several different water features out Flycatcher Trail. So if you have water features like a pond, then you will also get things such as these woodhouse toads here that are doing some little hanky-panky, and you can see the eggs there. So And this is also on the water feature out Flycatcher Trail. This is a female neon skipper. She's laying eggs there in the water. And it's a little waterfall, so that's what you're hearing in the background, the waterfall, but she just laying eggs and then she takes off. So if you could also add some nest box to your yard. This is a bluebird nest box over here on the left. This picture is actually from this past Saturday. We had a work day out at Flycatcher Trail, and we just opened the box to make sure it's cleaned out. Instead, we found this nest with 4 bluebird eggs in it. So I was back out there this morning with the gopher guy, and I went and checked the box this morning and opened it up, and they had all 4 babies had hatched. So hopefully it's a little cool, chilly in the mornings, and the female bluebird did fly out as I tapped on the box to make sure, I didn't want to startle too much, so I kind of tapped on the box before I opened it up, checked on it this morning. But yeah, all 4 eggs had hatched. So it's kind of a little bit early, I thought, but for bluebirds to be nesting. But bluebirds, phoebes, and wrens during that cold spell that we had back in 2021, a lot of them suffered and a lot of them died off. So we were very happy to have bluebirds back at Flycatcher Trail. This is the first time we've had them back since then. Purple martins also, they now rely on humans for their nesting needs. This is the purple martin house we had out at Flycatcher Trail. About 3 years ago, we fledged over 70 purple martins. 2 years ago, we had a lot of cold, wet weather during May, so the nesting season was not as successful that year. And last year, unfortunately, we had a Cooper's hawk that chose to nest about 3 houses down. So our purple martins did not fare as well last summer, unfortunately, because of the Cooper's hawk. And some of the purple martins actually left. So I think that once they saw the hawk come through a couple times, they did not stick around. If you're going to have native plants and frogs and toads and everything else in your yard, we ask that you keep your cat indoors. The 3 biggest reasons the bird populations decline is loss of habitat, which you can help with if you add native plants. Keep your cat indoors, and also then window collisions. So this is a black and white warbler here on top. This, I believe, is a barn swallow. Birds do not perceive glass the way humans do. And especially if if you go out and look at the reflection or look at your windows and you can see either sky or trees or something else, then you need to either close your blinds or put stuff up to help break up that reflection. So these are, if you go out to American Bird Conservancy's website, they have all sorts of ideas and ways that you can go ahead and break up the reflection on your own windows at home. Basically, you want something every 2 by 2 inches to help break up that reflection. And John, what did you put on your windows? You put some stuff.
We need a copy of that one.
Yep, so that's what John has done. We need to get John take a picture of what he's done on his new windows at his house to help break up the reflection. So this is what they're doing. This is a pilot project they're doing up at OSU. You can once again see this is on Gallagher Ivy Arena that they've got every 2 by 2 inches. And once again, they've also added signage because that's 1 billion birds a year killed by collisions with glass. And they may not die right off the bat. A lot of times they just appear stunned and they fly off. A lot of times they can get a concussion, and then they are weakened and they can get taken out by a cat or some other type of predator, or just flat out die. But most of the times you don't see that because they have flown off somewhere. So another way to help with birds and insects is, especially during migration, is lights out. So this is basically from now through May. People are asked to turn off their lights from 11 to 6 a.m. The birds get confused by the lights. They will circle and not realize what's going on. And then also the insects. If you want to photograph insects, you can have the lights, but most people, you want to keep your lights help both the birds and the insects. So this is what I did at my house after we had done Townie here. This is a yellow light bulb. So I've tried to make sure it's directed downward, and it's also on a motion detection deal, so it only comes on like when I pull in my driveway or someone comes up to my house. So I am trying to go ahead and do since I don't have it off, but it's shielded and it's even a yellow light to help deter birds and insects.
Why does the yellow deter them?
I don't know. It's that color. The color, I don't know exactly. I need to find out. So I do not know the answer to that question. Wing It is a local rehab group that we have here in Tulsa, that's part of Tulsa Audubon. So if you find an injured bird or any type of injured other wildlife, you can call them and they will help you with that. This is a harvester butterfly. So this was a rare butterfly that was found out at Flycatcher Trail. I think Jim Audubon is the one that found it, and then Jay and George both, I think, made it out there to see it. So once you get your yard established, I mean, it's always going to be changing. You'll probably always be adding new plants, but make sure you take the time to enjoy it. At Flycatcher Trail, we have some volunteers that help document our bird, butterflies, and dragonfly species. So we've documented over 58 species of butterflies over the last 10 years. Several have been rare butterflies in the county records. We have since we have the water features, we've got over 28 species of dragonflies and damselflies, over 50 species of birds, and then like I said, 3 years ago we pledged over 70 purple martins. This picture, Jim Audubon has done a lot of our documentation for both our butterflies and our dragonflies. This is a great pond hawk dragonfly, and this is the second time this dragonfly has been documented in Tulsa County. So once you get the stuff established in your yard, make sure you take the time to enjoy it. You can use iNaturalist to help document what you found in your yard. And that is it.
Thank you.
So, I don't know if anyone has any questions? Right,
How
right.
do you get to Flycatcher Trail?
Oh.
You know the address off the top of your head?
404 East F.
404 East.
Flycatcher.
Yeah, 404 East F. Flycatcher Trail also has its own Facebook page. Like I said, it is property owned by Jenks High School. It is just to the north of the football stadium and next to the Freshman Academy. It is open to the public, so you're welcome to go there anytime to see the plants that we have there. Right now, there's not a whole lot blooming, just your Mexican plum, your red bud, things like that. So, but we have actually a lot of plants that are already coming up, cut flowers, cone flowers coming up. A lot of different plants have already started to grow this year.
And for anybody who's interested in the collisions with glass, in 2 months, we're going to have somebody talking specifically about that. And also a program that Tulsa Audubon is going to be a leader on here in Tulsa, dealing with that.
Mary,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
it was a great talk. Is your presentation online?
It is not online. It is being filmed, so it will be out on our YouTube channel here, hopefully in a couple weeks.
I'd just like to make a comment about black swallowtail. People put out dill and fennel, as you mentioned, but they'll host on about any plant, most plants in the parsley family.
Yep.
So rattlesnake master, as mentioned, and golden alexanders. Those are two good natives that will host black swallowtail.
Black swallowtail is the state butterfly of Oklahoma, and my golden alexander I already know. I know today it was already starting to grow again this year. So yeah.
Is there a chrysanthemum that's native?
I do not know. I'm not a master.
I don't think so.
I thought I bought one at one of the native sales, and it got huge, and it was like looking at an aquarium of butterflies last fall, and they were swarming with all kinds of.
I do not know. So you might want to, if you've got the name, you might want to try. Okay.
Did she say native or sample?
Is there one? All right. So I've got a couple master gardeners over here. So yeah.
Maybe there's one that just looks like a chrysanthemum.
Yeah. And like I said, I've got there's a list of the butterflies that you could find here in Tulsa and all the various host plants on the back of that. On the back of it is also a list of stuff that's good for monarch butterflies. All the native milkweeds and other nectar plants that are good.
What color is your chrysanthemum?
It's like a light purple.
Probably an aspen.
That's what I'm thinking, kind of an aspen.
Huh. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So on like herbaceous plants and the grasses, what's the best time of year to split those? I'm a cheapskate, and I don't like to buy plants.
Provide now.
Yeah, that's it. I know that they were over at Julie's house today digging up plants and dividing them, so. Yeah, now's a nice time. I wouldn't do it during the heat of summer just because it's, don't want to do that, but the fall.
Related question, are there any organized plant swaps for native plants around here?
I think there is a plant school for Oklahoma, maybe.
So there's a Perennial Club is kind of doing their pass along sale or whatever you call it the first weekend in May here at the Garden Center, right? First weekend in May, like May 4th or whatever it is. So yeah, we kind of need to get that going. I think they've done some of that in Oklahoma City, but we have done some native seed swaps here in Tulsa in the past, but not a plant swap.
Thank you, Mary.
All right.
I hope to see you next month, and if you're not getting our emails, there's an email sign up page on the back. I also have you, if you do want that, come see me. You can just type your email right into my phone. That way I don't have to try to read